My favorite meal growing up was fried jackrabbit or cottontails.
Okay.
We used to catch cottontails, and my grandmother would quarter it up like a chicken, and she would put it in the oven, fry it like how you fry chicken.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like that.
Did she just use flour?
Yeah, she used flour and salt and pepper.
Is there a reason? Because jackrabbits are more gamey, right? You
Yeah.
don't want those.
We were jackrabbits before.
How'd you guys catch them?
We put up snares where they have a trail or whatever they go through.
Yep.
So my grandmother used to make those snares, put them up, and next morning there'd be a rabbit on there, a dead rabbit.
What area on Cheyenne River did you grow up in?
I grew up in Thunder Butte.
Thunder Butte?
Yeah, and then later we moved to Bear Creek.
And you live in town now, right?
Yeah, I live in town now.
Yeah.
I urbanized the town.
In the big city.
Yeah. Big city of Big Butte.
So your favorite meal was cottontail. Did your grandma do a lot of the cooking in the house, or?
She had arthritis, so I helped her a lot. She'd tell me what to do. My cousin and I used to help her do things. So we would she would cut up the fairy chicken or whatever, then she'd tell us what to do.
All right.
So that's what we did.
You hear a lot of the interviews that we've done, it's mainly the women that are helping grandma in the kitchen. Did you have older sisters, or they just?
I had older sisters.
Grandma just didn't trust them to help them?
That's what I was wondering myself, because my dad was the oldest in his family, and I had older sisters and brothers, but for some reason, I was like, they called me Sonny. So, Sonny, go check on grandma and grandpa or whatever. Help them do stuff. And then, I grew up in a boarding school, so in the summertime, I'd get dropped off by my grandparents to help them. And so most of the summer, I stayed with my grandparents. And they prepare, foods they get, and berries, and make patties and all that stuff. And I had a cousin that, my cousin was a girl. And we used to both help my grandma. And we would grind the meat of deer meat.
Okay.
If we wanted hamburger or whatever, we grind it with bacon, make hamburger. So that there was that deer meat with bacon, and there was some kind of salt that they used to have. They called hamburger salt.
Okay.
So we'd mix that deer meat with bacon, and then we would fry it like a hamburger, and then we'd sprinkle that hamburger salt on top. But it kind of had that flavor or something.
I've never thought of deer meat with bacon, but that sounds really good, actually.
Yeah, that's what we used to do. And then my grandpa had raised pigs, not a whole lot, but he had 6 pigs or whatever. So they'd butcher them too and make homemade stuff.
So you guys had a lot of different proteins then.
Yeah.
I've heard the weirdest one I've heard is beaver, and I've never seen a beaver around here.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever do any beaver too, or beaver tail?
Yeah, there's beavers, but I tried beaver tail once. I didn't care for it.
Not for you?
No, it's actually just like a big piece of fat.
Oh, okay.
With cartilage on it, the tail part. And I grew up around my grandparents, and they ate almost everything. They even had raccoon stew.
How'd they make that? I wonder. Like regular beef stew, but with raccoon meat, or?
Yep, they had traps they set out, and they come around. So they remember how you trap a dog now, or cat, whatever. They crawl into a thing. Well, they had it like that. So the raccoons would walk in there, they can't come back out. So they killed the raccoon and skinned it, and then they cut up all the meat and then made it into like a stew. And I never knew. If you didn't ask, you never knew what kind of meat it was.
They didn't have to go grocery shopping too much for meat, it sounds like.
And they ate porcupine.
Really?
Yeah, porcupine.
What'd they make that out of?
They made it into stew too, but they would singe the hair of the porcupine, or sometimes they skinned the hair, or they skinned it, and they would make it into they cut off all the meat. And to me, that porcupine tastes like ham.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. We have porcupines down at our house, so we might have to go try one of those.
Sure, yeah.
How did they make this stew? Was it did you guys have a garden, so you had vegetables around, or?
Yeah, my grandparents had a root cellar, they call it, in the ground.
Yeah.
And then the shelves are made out of dirt, and they were lined with straw, and they put all their garden vegetables downstairs, down in that cellar.
Okay.
So there was pumpkin, squash, all that stuff down there. It had kind of like a musty smell or something down there, that dirt, but it was cool, nice and cool.
Everybody had those back then. You can't find a root cellar anymore.
Not anymore. Everything's frozen now.
Yeah.
Freezer.
I'm guilty of that. I have a chest freezer, but we live out here and in the country, so it is kind of nice. But I wouldn't mind a root cellar. Did she can too then?
Yeah, she canned almost everything in the garden.
Yep.
Canned everything.
Did you help with that too, or
Yeah,
just?
I can.
So you know how to can?
I know how to can.
That's awesome.
I even made some jellies myself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
choke cherry and
Oh wow.
all those kind of jellies. I helped her, so I know how to do that.
And what time of year? Because you're supposed to go out and gather choke cherries when in like July.
Yeah,
Yep.
July.
So what's the process of making choke cherry jelly?
Well, you gotta boil the choke cherries first. And what we did was, remember that cheesecloth? Well, you put that choke cherry after you boil it, drain it through there, and then the pulp, whatever, you squeeze that cheesecloth, the more of the juice comes out, and then what do they call that, sure gel? That's what you use.
Okay.
So anyway, I used like 5 cups of choke cherry jelly or the juice. You boil it, and then you add sugar, then you add that sure gel, and you stir it till you get a boil or something, like it starts
Oh, it's like gelatin.
like bubbling. Yeah,
Okay.
gelatin. Starts bubbling, and then you shut it off. And then those little jars, I took those little jars and I put them in that stuff in there. And sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. That's one thing that I noticed was like, I made some choke cherry. It didn't gel up like jelly.
Yeah.
So we used it like a syrup.
Oh, yep.
Like a choke cherry syrup.
That'd be good too. They sell that now.
Yeah.
And what's the other one that's weird for some? Huckleberry
Yeah.
syrups.
Then my friend, now she said, "Man, I made you a jelly." And I said, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah. I put habanero in it. It tasted all right."
Yeah.
Choke cherry jelly with habanero. I put it on crackers and eat it.
Ooh.
It's not that hot. I mean, it's hot, but not that. I used to do that. Can't make jellies of all kinds. I even made chiaca, that peppermint tea. Boiled it first, and then I used it's like, there's a recipe for that in there too, mint. So I made jelly out of it, and it depends on like what it is to me. So it tells you like how long to boil it and everything, and put that gel in there. So then I would time it. I noticed that if I didn't time it right, it wouldn't work out. And so I can a lot of berries and stuff.
That whole canning process, it's like it's kind of like baking. If you don't follow the right stuff, don't turn out the same way.
And my grandmother had arthritis, so I did a lot of the stirring and all that for her. And so she taught me how to do that. And I even know how to make a boo-boo bread. Skillet bread, they call it.
Yep.
I make that too when I was a kid.
A lot of people ate that when they were kids.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever even tried it.
They call it gabubu bread or whatever. And I made it. And I can make biscuits.
Is it just mixing the ingredients and putting it in an oiled skillet? Or
Yeah. You got to press down on it, and then you got to poke holes on it so it goes through the air. And you brown it on one side, and you flip it over like a pancake. Brown the other side next. Put shortening on the bottom. You brown it. And some people can make good ones, like nice fluffy ones. I never could make it nice and fluffy. I think I needed too long, but I can make it.
Oh, funny. And back then too, your grandma, she probably had like a wood or a coal stove. Yep.
Yeah.
So that just added flavor alone doing that.
Yeah, she can cook a lot of stuff on the wood stove. Cooking wood stove. Even had an oven.
Yep.
Had a place in there where you could heat up water.
Yeah. Those were like the nice ones.
And had a shelf on top up here. And where you put the wood on this side, then the oven's in the middle. Then I don't know how it keeps the other part warm, but there's a place where you can put the water in.
Okay.
To keep the water warm. Warm water.
Did you? Oh, I'm sorry.
But I did I did a lot of stuff for my grandparents. I helped her cook a lot. Yeah. And one of them was, her favorite was her bone soup.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like from a steer or
anything.
Anything?
They'll take the front forearm of a cow or whatever. They skint it all the way, and they wash that hoof part, and they'll boil that until the hoof came on. Then they'll take all that on and change the water, and they'll boil that the inner side of the hoof too. It's like gristle or something.
Okay.
Yeah, and this forearm right here, they'd crack it in half. And
Sounds gross.
they'd crack it in half and they'd boil it. And the
Bone marrow.
bone marrow inside. That's what they eat.
So it's kind of like bone broth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they usually use as many parts of the animal as they could?
As much as they could.
Yep.
Yeah. Then I used to drive my grandpa to the store down, Dupree, and just say, tell that butcher, the guy in the back. So my grandma sent me after they just call it dog bones or whatever. And he'd bring out a whole box of bones and I put a few good pieces in there. When I get home, she had a big old kettle, put all that bones in there and boil it. And they would gnaw and all that stuff. They ate the gristle and fat and marrow. Yeah.
That bone broth is so good for you health-wise.
Yeah, and you know, looked like it lasted forever. When they made that soup, everybody came. My uncles came, and they ate on a bone. And they would eat on marrow and gnaw on that bone. And then I made that bread, and they had jelly with peanut butter on that bread. Hot bread.
Did your family live close by to be able to come up for supper like that a lot?
Yeah, they live close by.
Does that kind of still happen where you have family over for dinner?
No. I live by myself now. I cook breakfast for my cousin. They're working around here, and he lives in McLaughlin. So
oh, wow.
He stays with me during the week. Mm-hmm. So this morning I made breakfast, and we had burritos. I fried potatoes with onions and green peppers. When it was done, and then I cracked some eggs in it. Well, I cut up little pieces of bacon and mix it in. I don't know. I call that Manny mix.
We'll put it in the cook.
Manny mix. But yeah, I made that breakfast.
Did you have kids or no?
Yeah.
Did you teach them?
My youngest son comes around, but that's one thing. All the things that I was taught by my grandparents, I don't even pass it on. And you know, in the summertime, my grandparents used to go around different parts of the reservation, and they knew where to get these like leaves for like different teas. And so I moved away for like 12 years, and I came back, and I said, I think I'll start what my grandparents did, you know, start picking leaves and berries and all that, you know, plants. I went to this one place by Bear Creek where we used to pick this one leaf, and they call it a buffalo leaf, and they made tea out of it. So one day I went over there and like, what am I looking for? I forgot what to look for, you know. So I started rubbing each plant and smelling it. All the time I had poison sumac. I didn't know. So I touched my nose. Next morning I woke up, looked in the mirror. My tip of my nose is all red. Holy cow, I got a red nose.
Oh.
But you know, I forgot what some of those leaves looked like, what they were for. My grandparents used to pick all that stuff, and I would help them, and we'd pick like peppermint tea and stuff, you know, like from dams and all that. And I know what that one looks like, but these other teas that they had, and they would even pick those little juniper berries up a juniper tree. Yep. And those purple ones.
Yeah, those ones that look like blueberries, but they're bitter, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they pick those and they boil it, and come to find out, it helps you with your high blood pressure.
Really?
Yep. And I never knew that. And my grandma would drink that tea, and they even made like the willow bark, or the willows. I think there's some willow down here at the park.
The red willows, or
no, the regular willow.
Okay.
They'll take that bark and cut it up, like chop it up, and they'll boil it. That's what aspirin's made of.
Oh my goodness. We just have medicine everywhere.
Yeah. And when we were in the summer, in the wintertime, I went home for Christmas, and I stayed with my grandparents, and my grandpa said, go down to the creek and get those little saplings from a cottonwood tree, the little ones. So we cut a bunch of that and brought it back, and we peeled the bark, and he chopped up that bark, and we had some horses, and he gave that bark to those horses. There, he said that's a wormer.
Oh, okay.
Natural wormer.
From a cottonwood?
Yeah. So anyway, that's something that we don't use. I mean, nowadays everything's like, give them all shots with her. But they had all that stuff back in the day. That's something to think about, you know. Yeah. The horses ate it.
Or even like for people now, like a lot of, if you were like, there's 10 different medicines here, go find them, I wouldn't know what to look for because you can't identify plants like that.
I lived in BI housing before I moved where I live now. And every time I come out of the house, there's a plant kind of laying flat on the ground, and then there was like a lot of daisies and there was some purple flowers, whatever. Yeah, I took this ethnobotany class at City College one summer. That plant that was laying there, that was the medicine. You could take that and put it on your cut, whatever,
Yeah.
and it'll heal your cut.
Cool.
Butane or something like that.
Did you go back and get it?
Yeah, I did. And you can use daisies for different things. So I'm teaching a college class now. It's called Traditional Plants, Herbs, and Foods. And later on, I'm going to do a show and tell, whatever. Whatever I have, I'm taking in. This is sage, and this is peppermint tea, and all that stuff. And I was going to Culture Center on Wednesday nights, and we made like turnips, wild turnips. And we went dug turnips, and then they made the braids. And then one time we grinded choke cherries, made them into patties, and we made a wojapi with that choke cherry, and used the natural ingredients what Lakota used before they used starch and sugar. So we used the pounded up turnips, made it into like a powder stuff, so you can thicken that wojapi with timshila, that turnip stuff. And then instead of using sugar, you use honey.
Okay.
There's a big difference.
Yeah.
You know, between that and the modern day wojapi, different color and everything. And that old recipe tasted pretty good, actually. The choke cherry one.
Before you smashed up the choke cherries, did you have to like use the cheesecloth again, or did you use
No, we
keep
just
the
boiled
seeds
it.
in there?
We just left the seeds in there. But this one we made, we smashed the seeds.
Into whenever you put them in the patties?
Yeah.
Were the turnips dry whenever you did them?
Yep.
Into the powder?
Yeah, we pounded them up. You know, inside that seed of that choke cherry, said that it even has a property. It does something to you, like for your health or something. Yeah. So that's what my class is doing now. This week I had them make a salad, you know, in their mind, whatever, write it down. Like put vegetables and fruits together. And then you have to tell me what does a banana have, you know, and what does it do for you? And oranges and all that, celery and potatoes and stuff like that.
That's cool.
So they have a book and it tells you like what vitamins are in there and all that stuff. And that's what they do. That's what they do.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They're sharing their recipes with the class.
Would it be possible to get like a copy of that information to put in our recipe book?
Yeah, I could look at it. I'll take a look at it.
Yeah.
See what there.
Because that would be great information. And we can give the student credit that did the work too.
Yeah. I could take a look at them. There's little recipes. And Candace, one of my students, Candace, named Candy LeBeau, she was into mushrooms. I had a girlfriend that was from Little Eagle, McLaughlin area, and their family used to harvest mushrooms from a box elder tree.
Okay.
You know, the mushrooms, whatever, they would cut off the mushroom, and then they would boil that mushroom and they eat it, and they would even fry it too. And I don't know, around here I haven't noticed if there's any box elder trees. But one time a friend and I were like walking around at La Framboise Island and Pier, and those people were collecting mushroom trees off a cottonwood tree.
I didn't even know those grew mushrooms.
Yeah, wild mushrooms, and they put them in the soups. I like to get some. And it has a texture. You ever try tripe?
I don't think so.
The cow guts or whatever.
Oh, no, I haven't.
Yeah. You know, there's one piece in there that kind of chewy. That's what they taste like.
So it's like cow intestines?
Yeah.
Or, okay. I've had like pig from sausage. Coleman sausage.
No, this is the tripe part. Yeah. It kind of has a woody taste like. Yeah. It tastes all right. There's mushrooms, tree mushrooms.
Are you guys doing like wasna and because you're doing choke cherry patties? Are you gonna do dried?
Yeah, we made
too.
Well, at the culture center they made papa, dried meat, and after it dried, and then they take that piece of meat that's dried, and they put it in the oven for a little bit, kind of like frying it or whatever, cooking it or something. And so it's dried. So when you take it out of the oven and cool it down and pounding it, it falls apart.
Okay.
It's easier to work with. So we made wasna like that.
With choke cherries?
Yeah, that choke cherry, that grinded up choke cherry with wasna. And then we used real kidney fat. You melt the kidney fat. And today we use olive oil or something else, but long time ago, our grandparents and ancestors, they'd make that wasna and they'd pound that meat and then mix in that chokecherry, dry chokecherry. They mix it together and then they'd put melted kidney fat mixed in with it. So if you ever see old pictures of Indians, they had like a pouch, like on the side here.
Yep.
Well, that's what was inside there.
Oh, was their snacks?
Yeah.
Little snack pouch.
Yeah. So they trained our ancestors trained their bodies to just eat a little bit at a time, snack, whatever. See, now we go for snacks, all kinds of stuff.
And most of it's not good for you.
Yeah, that was one thing we talked about the other day in my class. What's the worst thing we like to eat as Indians? You know what they all said?
Hot Cheetos?
No.
Oh, really?
No, it wasn't hot Cheetos. Indian taco.
Oh, yeah, with the fry bread. Yep.
Yeah. I don't eat that much fry bread now.
A lot of people, whenever they think of traditional foods, they think of fry bread, though.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because it's not a food. I mean, that was introduced years and years ago.
They only got flour when they put us on reservation.
Yep.
You know, and so they didn't know what to do with the flour, so they were experimenting, and that's how they made fry bread.
Yep.
You know, and a lot of people make fry bread now. When I lived in Arizona, and the Navajos make fry bread every day.
They call it like Navajo fry bread is what they call it, right?
Yeah. Every reservation has their own fry bread. And I had that class before, that traditional foods class. So we made two types of fry bread. At that time, it was before the COVID, so they let us cook stuff in that kitchen. And we made yeast fry bread, and we had baking powder fry bread. And I like that baking powder fry bread. And we put raisins in it and stuff.
Is that like with baking soda?
Yeah, baking powder.
Baking powder, yep.
And we made fry bread out of that.
With raisins?
Yeah.
Like in the bread?
In the dough. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then you fry it like that.
Like a dessert then.
It's just like here and there there's a red.
Yeah.
It's not like all one punch. It tasted good.
Has your class like realized like, wow, we don't eat like this anymore and this is part of our health problems nowadays? All the junk food?
They were all surprised at what some of these things have.
Yeah.
You know? And what's not good for you and what's good for you. And I'm a dialysis patient, and I can't have too much bananas because of the potassium. I can't have too much potatoes because of the potassium, whatever. So I have to watch what I eat.
High carbs.
Yep.
So they're noticing a difference in food changing throughout the years and the health effects then.
Yeah, as they get older, what they can eat and they can't eat.
Yeah.
But a lot of things have changed too. I noticed that. Like I grew up eating, wild game and fish and stuff like that. Now I don't even eat that. I mean, I eat like buffalo tongue or cow tongue, heart, like that, kidneys and liver of the cow and buffalo.
How do you prepare those organs?
The cow tongue, you boil that, and then when you boil it, then you take the outer part off the cow tongue. There's like a skin.
Okay.
You take that off. It's actually really good. There's no fat on it. The cow tongue.
Does it taste like cow?
No.
Or no?
Tastes pretty good.
Yeah. Take the skin off.
Yeah, take the skin off. And make a sandwich. And so you can't boil it too long, otherwise it'll kind of like go slime like. So you have to cook it just right. And then you slice it, and then you just peel that outer part off. And it actually tastes good.
Do you do the same with the buffalo tongue, or is that different?
Yeah, the same.
Okay. And the heart, how do you do that?
Usually boil that too. Cut it up. You boil it first, and then when it's done, then you take it and you slice it. And then some just use the whole slice like a sandwich, and some just cut it like all little pieces, put it back in the soup.
Oh, in the soup.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. When you do your beef stew and when your grandma did it, did they do like broth or did they do water and potatoes and carrots and just add the meat and season or?
Well, it just depended on what they had at the time, I think. And my grandma would do like a roast or whatever, and they put in like carrots and like how they do it now.
Mm-hmm.
And but she would make a little cup of flour with that broth.
Okay.
To make it thick, whatever.
Yep.
That's what she would do.
And people still do that now.
Yeah, they use flour.
I was always told to cook it in beef broth, but then make like a cornstarch flurry to thicken it up instead of
Yeah.
with flour.
Yeah. Sometimes we use cornstarch, but most of the time that we have flour, so we just use that. And I noticed that with the berries, when you make a wushapi, if you use flour, the wushapi looks light purple. But if you use starch, then it has like a darker purple.
What color was it when you used the honey?
It was stayed the same dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, dark. That was good. I liked it.
Yeah, because you can make wushapi just about out of anything.
That
Chokecherry is, I feel like, the most used one.
blueberries now.
Blueberries. Do we have blueberry plants around here?
Like
And chokecherry plants, those are usually those by the river?
they have some by my place. They have some in town.
Okay.
Chokecherry trees. And my grandparents used to pick all the berries. Currant, they call these ones sand cherries. They're like closer to the ground. And then chokecherries, and they picked June berries. And they picked after chokecherries then was plums, wild crab apples. They'd make jelly, all of that.
It sounds like you guys were either gathering or hunting or cooking all the time.
Yeah, even fish too.
Yeah, what kind of fish did you guys catch down there?
Catfish mostly. My grandmother used to boil the catfish head. We had, let's say, had 4 big catfish. She'll boil all those heads.
For what? Like to eat them?
Yeah, eat
Okay.
the catfish lips and the gills and
In the eyeball?
the eyeball. My grandpa would split that head open and eat the brains, whatever.
Did it taste the same as like normal catfish does, or
Yeah.
a little different?
Yeah.
Did you guys like bread your fish, or did she boil the body too? No.
We fried up the body pretty much. We filleted it and then breaded the fillet. Well, that catfish is pretty thick, so yeah, cut in half and then put it in the salt and pepper with flour, fried in grease, kind of.
I need to stop doing these interviews on an empty stomach because I'm always growling whenever I'm done. Oh goodness. So you guys had quite a bit of different game then. Different vegetables.
All the vegetables, they had a big garden down by the creek, my grandparents. When I was living with my grandparents, my cousins and I used to go down there and we would take the wood ash from the fire, like they had a place where they kept all that, like all winter or whatever.
Okay.
They kept that wood ash. So we take a bucket of that wood ash. Wasn't really a big bucket, but and we'd sprinkle on all those
To like fertilize it, or
to keep the bugs off or something.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
That is so cool to know because you're around here, those insects really eat up your veggies.
And then I dated this one woman. She had a garden, and she bought this. The UPS man brought this bag. And it had something like diatomaceous earth, and it was those clamshells.
Okay.
They grind them up, made it into a powder.
Like oyster shells? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they put it on the leaves of the plant
Okay.
on her garden
To help with bugs?
And then she put flowers inside the garden, like I forgot, marigolds or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, planted them inside in the garden too. I guess that keeps bugs away or something.
They say to plant marigolds with your tomato plants, especially.
So I learned all that too from that woman.
Did they like seed save, or where'd your grandma get the seeds every year?
Oh yeah, they would save it. Like if they would cut up a Hubbard squash, they would save all the seeds in a jar. So that next year they would use those seeds.
Do they have to dry them or not? Dry them in
the seeds
before the jar? Yeah.
Yeah. They dried them up.
That's so smart. Do it that way.
They planted corn and potatoes, squash, all kinds of squash. My favorite used to be those white radishes.
Oh yeah.
You ever see them?
I've seen ones that are white on the bottom where the root is, but they're red towards the top.
No, they're not. They're not round. They look like a carrot.
Okay, no, I haven't.
I forgot what kind of radish they call them. Those were my favorite.
Are they spicy like normal ones?
Yeah. They grew all that, and then we used to take the water from the creek and water that and stuff. And we used to collect all the beetle bugs. Did a lot of crawling around in the garden, but it was worth it. And you ever eat fried squash?
No. What kind of squash?
Like a Hubbard squash?
Okay. No, I haven't. It sounds like it'd be good though. Do you just cut it up and put it in the pan, or?
Yeah, remember those Hubbard squash? Looks big.
Yeah.
And it kind of on the outside looks kind of some way.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to cut, but they cut it and then chop it in half, and then they cut it pieces.
Yeah.
Then they'll take that outer skin off.
Okay.
And then they'll slice it like a potato. And then they fry it in the skillet
Okay.
with some shortening or whatever. And then when it's like brown kind of, then they put sprinkled brown sugar on it. It tastes good.
That's how I like sweet potatoes with brown sugar.
Yeah. I like those potato fries, sweet potato fries. I like that.
Those are good. You guys had quite a bit of different veggies then.
We used to do all that and can all that. They canned cucumbers and stuff. We put them all down in that cellar. My grandparents.
Do you have a garden now?
No. I did last year, but I used buckets. I grew buckets out of buckets. I had 5-gallon buckets that I got dirt for. And I used to work for nutrition a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
We went to this one, some kind of garden class in Phillip Nutrition Center sent us over, and they showed us how to make a garden. And what you do is use topsoil, a third of it, a third sawdust.
Oh, okay.
And a third manure. And we used this one farmer had a bunch of sheep. He had piles of sheep manure, like 10 years old or something. So no, he brought it to the nutrition. So we mixed that with that soil and that sawdust. I guess that sawdust keeps the moisture in there.
Okay.
The wood, whatever. That's how we made our plant.
Did they turn out good?
Yeah.
What did you all plant?
Tomatoes, jalapenos, green peppers, and radishes and carrots, beets. It all worked out. And I did it myself. Like last year, I had buckets of tomato plants. Like I think 3 or 4 different kinds of tomatoes. Even those little cherry ones. I had some of that. Then I planted some cilantro, and I planted tomatoes and green peppers and jalapenos. Something to make salsa, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if you made salsa.
Yeah, I made salsa.
Was it good?
It was all right.
How come you didn't do it this year?
I just didn't feel it. I started going to dialysis. So I had to retire from work, and I just don't have the energy or something.
Yeah, it takes a lot out of you. Any other recipes you want to share though, since we're recording?
I was talking to my cousin this morning. I said, I got to go to an interview, talk about traditional foods and stuff. I said, what grandma and them used to have. I said, the favorite one he liked was that. My grandma used to cook pear chicken and, boil the whole thing and then put rice in there.
In the chicken?
Yeah, with the soup.
Oh, okay.
Like a soup?
Yep.
Pear chicken, rice soup.
That sounds really good.
Yeah. Wild rice.
I know. Yeah, it's gotta be.
Gotta be wild rice.
So after she got the chicken, cleaned it, did she chop it up at all or just did the whole chicken?
Chopped it up.
Chop it up.
Boiled it and then threw in the rice later.
Did she leave the head and the feet in there? No.
Okay.
Well, I don't know about grandma.
Yeah.
She did so. Double check.
My grandma's favorite was getting a dove. Remember those little gray doves? She would cook that. She would boil that dove, eat that herself.
Wouldn't let nobody else have it.
Nobody. Just her.
You don't see. I don't see many of those around.
Not too many. There's a couple around my place.
Yeah.
They kind of hoot or whatever. I don't know how my grandma did it, but she went and got a dove with a slingshot or something.
Did you guys use those a lot for catching stuff, or?
No, a lot of snares.
Mm-hmm.
They were snared. And then my grandpa, we had a bunch of chickens and a couple of turkeys. I think some ducks too. And then this one winter, this pheasant moved in. A pheasant.
Yeah.
A male pheasant. And he started eating whatever those chickens were eating. And he got so big he couldn't even fly.
Oh my gosh.
And he was huge. He thought he was a chicken or whatever. Didn't take off or nothing when my grandpa was feeding him.
Yeah.
He was hanging around with the rest of the chickens. And he really got big. He couldn't fly.
Did you end up eating him?
Yeah, my grandpa did.
But he was just thick.
Yeah. Nice and fat.
Yeah. You don't get a lot of meat off of a pheasant, so it's got to bulk him up.
Just the breast. I had an electric meat grinder. So we got buffalo meat. We made all that into hamburger. We had drum practice with the high school kids, boys. They would come to my house and we'd practice down basement. And that woman said, what should I make? I said, make some sloppy joes. Just use that hamburger, buffalo hamburger, or use that elk hamburger. We grind everything into hamburger. Elk meat, deer meat, buffalo. It was all into hamburger. And those boys never asked what it was. They had that sloppy joe or whatever. They ate it up.
Buffalo hamburger tastes really similar to beef hamburger too.
years.
It takes on that same flavor. It's not like elk, that's for sure.
No, elk is lean. I shot an elk. That's when that was with that woman from Louisiana.
Hmm.
I bought an elk from the game fishing park. They said you could buy it for $100. I bought one, and I went and shot it. We cut it up, but we made everything pretty much into hamburger. We cut some things out, but everything else went to hamburger.
Did you guys use like the bones and stuff too? Like grandma
Yeah.
made some beef broth or elk broth? I
Elk
guess?
broth.
You guys did a lot of like even from whenever you were growing up to now, like a lot of hunting, a lot of cleaning. Did you guys ever do anything with all of the pelts at all, or?
Yeah. My grandmother used to tan hides, even buffalo hide. They would soak it and stretch it out. And well, first they fleshed it. I made a fleshing pole for my grandmother. And it was just a piece of green wood. I made it like that. Kind of went down this way, and then a flat board over here, and then up like this.
Okay.
So you could throw that deer hide on there.
Yep.
And it was like kind of like the waist high. So she'd flesh it and take all that meat off, and then she'll soak that deer hide, whatever, in a bucket with that wood ash.
Okay.
That same wood ash from the fire.
Yep.
For 2 or 3 days. And she'll pull that hair and it'll just come right off.
Oh.
Yeah. So she'll take it and scrape all that hair off.
Yeah.
And then stretch it out and then work that hide and make it soft. And then what they do is they take the brains of the hide animal, save that brains. So when they stretch after they flesh it, and then they take all that hair off, and then they'll boil that brains of that animal,
Mm-hmm.
and then they take it and they rub it all over that hide.
On the flesh part or on the hair part?
On the flesh part.
The flesh part.
And then you just work it in. And then what she did was she took it off and rolled it up and twisted it and all kinds of ways.
Rubbing it in.
Rubbed it in like that. And broke the fibers off that inside the head, the skin part. So it'll be nice and soft.
So that's how she didn't like scrape it then to work it.
No, she soaked it.
She massaged it. Because that's what people do nowadays, right? Is they take almost like a scraper of some sorts.
Yeah.
To break those fibers.
Scrape it off.
Man, Grandma had a lot of tricks.
And my grandpa would help her. They even made parfleche boxes out of the buffalo hide. Even cowhide too. They would make parfleche boxes out of cowhide. And
What are those boxes?
they're like rawhide boxes they make.
Like a little chest?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like some of them are smaller. And they make stuff out of it and you could put things inside there. And she made one that looked like a trunk out of a buffalo hide.
Oh, I bet, because it's so big.
Yeah, and they made it square, and then the cover kind of goes up and down with her. Made it out of the rawhide, and then in the corners she used the rawhide, and tied it together, and she would put stuff inside there that was made out of that buffalo.
How did she get it to like stand up on its own? Like,
when it's wet, they shape it when it's wet.
Okay.
And then when they sew it together, then it dries like that. So it gets hard. Rawhide. We used to make drums. I could make drums with the hide.
Yep.
I made hand drums and I made some big drums with that hide.
Do you still have them today?
No.
Or did you gift them?
No, I gave them away. But I can make hand drums and stuff. Elk hide I had, we did that with that. We made some elk hide drums. I sold them though.
It's very cool to use the whole part.
The whole animal.
Yep.
Yeah.
People don't do that. Even if like you went out and you hunted a deer, a lot of people still don't use all of that.
No. Before I quit hunting, I used to hunt all the time. I would shoot a deer and I'd take the back straps and take the hindquarters and give the rest to my brother-in-law. And they would eat the front quarter and the ribs and stuff. But I just took the hindquarters and the back strap. And I used to make jerky.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, venison jerky and marinated and stuff before I cooked it. Some I had dehydrator and I did that with that meat too. I used to make jerky.
Before you put it in before you had your dehydrator, did you just do it in the oven?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did people back then do that? Did your grandma ever make jerky and stuff like that, or is that more?
It's more. They made more of like the bapa, the dried meat part. The way they did theirs is totally different. They would follow a muscle off the leg, back leg. So they would cut one end over here and follow that muscle and they cut the gristle on this other end. So it'd be like a chunk of meat.
Okay.
And then they would take off all they call it, in our language, they call it, which means like all the sinew and they would cut all that off first. And then they would start slicing that meat. See, some pieces are like this big.
Do they slice it real thin?
Yeah.
Okay.
It takes a lot of practice though. I tried it.
Is it hard?
Yeah.
So then after they slice it, then what do they do with it?
They dry it, they hang it up and dry it.
Okay.
They would hang it up over like a string or like a wire or something. And then when they hang it over, they put a stick in between there so they won't touch each other.
Mm-hmm.
So they would dry like that.
Did they like hang it up raw or did they boil it first?
No, they hung it up raw.
How did that not go bad? How does that work?
It just dried up.
I wonder how long it took.
It don't take sometimes they don't take long if you had a fan going on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a fan or something.
Oh wow, so they like cut it thin.
Yeah, real thin.
Yeah. So they dry once it's dried, that's the
bapa they call it.
That's the bapa.
Some put stored in bags like a gunny sack bag or where it has air going through.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can like a paper bag. My grandparents put it in a paper bag.
So then from there, that's when they keep part of it, and then the other part is used for wasna.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to like.
Some make it into parts of it into soup, or some make it into wasna. And nowadays, they use a lot of that wasna for ceremony, like Sundance and like UEP and stuff. Yeah, for their altar. They use the wasna and berries. I made some wasna for a ceremony.
Do you put it on the tree or?
No, they use it like an offering.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they like to eat. First they feed the spirits, they call it.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody will take a pinch of that wasna. And they asked me, man, you know how to make it? I said, yeah, I do. I cheated. I used the blender. I kind of baked that papa first in the oven.
Mm-hmm.
Then if you take it out and let it cool off, then it'll break easy. So I put little pieces into that blender.
Yeah, that's got to be easier than, what are they called? Mortal or something?
Yeah, where they pound it.
Yeah, it's like in the bowl with the stone.
Yeah.
So then whenever they would use the bapa for soup, they would just like throw it into the potatoes and
people make different kind of papa soups.
Yeah.
Some put rice in there, some put squash in there, and some put potatoes in there. Just depend on what you want to put in it. And some put that mushrooms in there. Those tree mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
They put them in there too. And they put in, like, some put, traditional way is they put kidney fat in there. Yeah.
In the soup?
Yeah.
To melt it down? Or?
Yeah. Just part of the soup.
Mm-hmm.
You ever do that when you ever see kidney fat where it's kind of like white and it's not like regular fat, kind of more squishy. It's kind of hard.
Oh, okay.
So when you boil that kidney fat, it turns like marble color, like clear.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Tastes good. Yeah.
Do you eat kidney too?
Yeah, I do.
Is it the same way that you prepare like heart or tongue?
No, I fry my kidneys. I even eat raw kidneys.
Is it the kidney or the heart that some people take a bite out of whenever they hunt?
They're supposed to be the liver.
The liver, okay. I'm mixing up my organs.
Yeah, the liver.
Raw.
If you ever eat a liver, you just take a couple bites and swallow it. Because the longer you chew it, the bigger it's getting.
Oh, how's that work?
I don't know, but it starts to get bigger. So they take a couple of bites and they swallow it.
Do you butcher a lot? Is that where you're able to find these organs? Or do you just go to LTM and say, give me a cow tongue?
We butchered this summer around here. But I go to the Sookbird locker plant. On Tuesdays, they give out the intestines and the parts. So if you're there, you pick whatever you want.
That's good to know. To be able to like support local business or tribal business, and then have to go.
Otherwise,
to
they throw it away.
Yeah. Otherwise,
if you go like to Mobridge or somewhere else, because of health and safety reasons, I guess, they won't give you that stuff. They won't give you the tripe. Or I made some tripe yesterday.
Yeah.
Into menudo.
What's that?
Menudo soup.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what menudo is? It's actually tripe, boiled tripe, and they cut it into pieces.
Okay.
And then they add hominy and corn to it, and some spices. It's kind of spicy. If you buy it from the store, there's canned menudo. That's pig guts.
Oh, it's not real. It's not real tripe.
Well, it is tripe, but it's pig,
Not beef.
not the beef one. Those guys have, if you see signs, just menudo sale. That's that tripe.
How big is the tripe in the cow intestines? Is it small?
It's
or-
big.
Is it big? Really?
Yeah.
Whenever you told me about it, I pictured like this small little part of their intestine.
When you first see the tripe out of a buffalo or a cow, I mean, it's about this big,
Oh my gosh.
like this.
Oh my goodness.
And so that whole punch,
Yeah.
you cut that, it's all full of grass, bile.
Yeah, clean it out.
Gotta shake it out, whatever. And then they wash it off, take all that green stuff in there. And then there's another one over here, I think it's the stomach, smaller one, kind of round like a ball. And you cut that in half, and it's like pages, like they call it pages, whatever. You shake that out too, because that's where all the grass is being ground up in the cow, whatever. So they shake all that. And then there's one that's called the honeycomb, part of the honeycomb. So they shake that out too. And you wash all that. Some wash it really good. Some say to leave some flavor on it. And some of that green stuff. So when they boil it, it takes about 3 or 4 hours to boil the whole thing.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So when they boil it, you open up that big pot or whatever. Some of it don't clean it that good, so all that grass and starts floating on top.
So why do they call it menudo soup if it's made of tripe?
I guess that's what the Mexicans call it.
Oh.
Menudo, because they put spices in it and stuff.
Yeah.
Around here we use tripe, and then we add the corn and hominy and spices. What's real tripe?
What kind of spices?
Whatever they make to like kind of like chili.
Oh, okay.
Chili seasoning, whatever.
Yep.
Kind of like that.
Ooh.
It's kind of spicy, like.
Does it go well with kabubu bread?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rye bread, blue bread.
So then, like, did the ancestors make tripe too?
Yeah.
Or use it?
Yeah.
Did they use it as like? I guess how did they do it? Did they boil it too?
They boil it too.
Boiled it too.
Yeah, I see a lot of pictures that how our ancestors. Somebody drew this picture, and they used the punch of the buffalo, the stomach area, the hide. They used that as their soup pot or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So they would hang up the hide of the stomach, so it hangs down. They put that water in there, and they put the meat or tripe in there. Somebody drew a picture, and they put a fire underneath it. It don't work that way.
Oh, okay.
If you try to heat up that rawhide, whatever, it'll shrivel up under fire.
So how did they heat it then?
So they built the fire beside it. So let's say that's the tripod there.
Yeah.
And they'll put the fire over here, and they'll heat up rocks. There's big round rocks. They call them river rocks. You have to be careful what kind of rocks you heat up, because some could explode.
Oh.
So you heat up these rocks, and you have that punch over there with the water and the tripe and all that. When this rock gets red hot, they take horns of a deer or whatever, or maybe 2 sticks, like a fork.
Yeah.
They'll take it and grab it, and they'll drop it into that.
Oh.
It'll boil. Like as soon as it gets done, they take it out and they grab another one and dust it off, and they might have some griddle, whatever, sand,
Flavor.
piece of dirt in there, whatever, or ash. Whatever. When I was in the Middle East, we made pita bread.
Okay.
That's what it had, little sand in it. So anyway, that soup might have a little gristle in it, or might have some hairs in it, or might have some dirt in it.
That happens though, huh? Whenever you're eating off the land.